We had two characters in this episode that we had to choose from. And somehow Daredevil Born Again chose the worst one to keep. Welcome back, everyone. We are here today to talk about Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 7, The Hateful Darkness. We are setting up for the finale, and I have a theory as to how it will all go down based on this episode. But before we get into that, we did lose a beloved character this episode, and I want to know who has been your favorite character so far in this show, new or returning. Let me know in the comments below. Bonus points if you pick Jessica Jones. But obviously the character that I'm alluding to in this intro in terms of the character that we lost is Daniel. Rest in peace, Daniel. And how is it possible that when we were at that crossroads choosing between Daniel and BB, that somehow BB is the one that survives and Daniel chose essentially to sacrifice himself to save her? While I love that for Daniel's story, I am a little disappointed because, as was said in my comments, Haley's Tusk commented and said, "You don't feel the chemistry because BB's actress isn't on the same acting level as Daniel's. Maybe it's the writing, but she has never acted like this shrewd investigative reporter like her Uncle Ben. I doubt anyone didn't think the masked Fisk wasn't BB. I'll give the actress the benefit of the doubt and blame the writing, but boy, is she unconvincing." Well, I don't know if I'm feeling that the actress is the problem here. I'm still trying to figure out what's not working with me and BB. I do think maybe the writing might be a part of it. It is true that, even in this conversation yet she has with Daniel before Daniel sacrifices himself, he essentially calls her out and is like, you brought the BB report over to us to be with Fisk. And now you're trying to tell me that the BB report was like your baby, and obviously you were never going to give up being an investigative journalist. But you literally did give up being an investigative journalist. BB, come on. So honestly, I am disappointed that BB lives and Daniel has to die. I'm gonna miss him. And it is true, an amazing performer, but it is what it is. He's gone now. And I have a question as well in terms of the note that he left on, because Daniel also left on the note of saying to Buck, you don't have to do this. There could be a time when you are where I am. Like, you might be next. Who's to say that that isn't your future? And I think based on what we've been building up this season, it does feel like Buck might have to consider what Daniel's dying words were. I mean, he didn't want to hurt him, and he's already lost Wesley. Now he's lost Daniel. And I do wonder, with that last little look at the end of the episode, if he is considering his own loyalty to Kingpin in this moment. I think we're building up to a moment where Buck is going to ultimately have to decide if he really is in or out. And I'm not sure if we're building him up to turn face and go against Kingpin, or if it's more of a moment where he is going to just double down. But that moment may be coming. There is also some really interesting chemistry that we get to explore that I was not expecting to get into in this episode. Even though Daniel and BB didn't have great chemistry for me, there are two characters that have amazing on-screen chemistry. And that is Karen Page and Heather Glenn. That's right, we get a love interest showdown in this episode. Karen Page versus Heather Glenn when Heather comes in to do a psych evaluation on Karen. But this is a moment where I love, once again, everything that we are building for Heather here, how Karen is clearly trying to get into Heather's head. And not only that, in this conversation, Karen is essentially trying to appeal to Heather, knowing that Heather is probably a good person at heart, but that she's just kind of scared. And yet we also get this amazing kind of face-off between these two women who both have loved Matt before. One who I feel like is now so vehemently against the man, and that's Heather Glenn. And the other person who, while she's wrapped up in all of this, loves him so completely that she's willing to go to prison for him because she believes so much in both Matt Murdock and Daredevil. So this whole conversation was amazing. This whole scene was amazing. I love how they're just kind of trying to get into each other's heads back and forth. I loved the little presence of Muse sort of through the viewing window, kind of looking at Heather, showing us that Muse is really getting into Heather's mind. The fact that she throws back at Karen, that she just doesn't want to be pitied when Karen tries to appeal to the fact that Heather ran to the Fisks because she was simply hurt from Matt. And Heather goes off the deep end there, and she just brutally attacks Karen. And there are going to be questions, I feel, that might have to be answered when we get to court, because Karen just has not only her throat messed up from her interaction with Fisk at the beginning of the episode, but now she's gonna have a bruised face. She has like a split lip. I mean, man, Karen's really going through it. I do have a theory for how all of this is playing out too. I mean, they allude to it in the episode, and I think what is happening here is they've essentially used Karen to lay this trap for Daredevil. And while Matt might think he's being smart by getting around that trap by revealing that Matt Murdock is alive and well and joining McDuffie in the court on the side of Karen and using his everyday civil persona as Matt Murdock to handle this situation, I think he might be playing right into Kingpin's hands. After the confrontation in the last episode that Kingpin and Daredevil had, I think Kingpin has realized that there's simply no way that they're going to make it through this and either of them will win. And so while he has committed to losing, he's essentially resigned to take Daredevil down with him. If Kingpin's going down, so is Daredevil. And I think there's a few ways that he's approached this. One is, I think his plan is to expose that Matt Murdock is Daredevil and vice versa in the court of law and cost Matt his secret identity. So that'll be gone. And then the other thing is, I think this comes back to a threat that Daredevil actually made to Kingpin back in the Netflix Daredevil series, when Daredevil threatened that, you know, if Kingpin ever came after him again or his friends again, he would essentially have Vanessa locked up and she would never see the light of day. She would be locked in prison forever. I think that's what Kingpin is trying to do to Matt here. He's trying to lock his love away in prison forever, of course, that being Karen Page. And at this point, there really is nothing left for Kingpin to lose, which is why I don't think he really cares as much about New York or anything like that. He's already lost Vanessa, and so to him, he's just lost. There's nothing left. He has nothing left to fight for. That being said, when you have nothing left to fight for and you're backed into a corner and you're Kingpin, that's when we should be the most afraid of that man. So whatever's going to be happening in this finale, prepare for it to go crazy. That's what I'm prepared for. And yet, while next episode is definitely going to be crazy, I just want to quickly shout out again this episode. I know I mentioned it in the previous episode, but Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is absolutely insane. He doesn't even get as much to do in this episode, and yet he does so much with so little. Just his reactions. And I don't exactly know everything that he's planning, but you can clearly see the gears turning in his mind. And there is so much, I think, going on in there. I just love even seeing his simple reactions where he says nothing. I do really think that Kingpin's days in office are also numbered, as we have the governor making all the plans to get him removed. And when the governor's life is threatened in this episode, Bullseye steps in and saves her. So I think this is basically the end of Kingpin's time as mayor. And we're going to see that come to an end in the next episode, in the finale. And while Kingpin's days in office may be numbered, I also thought Jessica Jones's days in this show were numbered, because in this episode, she also says, you know, I'm kind of done helping you, Matt. I got to go back to my daughter and my family, so I'm out. Then, of course, she does come back later in the episode, but something that was interesting that we also saw with Jessica Jones is she has this confrontation with Mr. Charles, where we find out where Luke has been. If you were wondering, like I was, where's Luke Cage, father of Jessica's daughter? Seems like he's one of the heroes that she was talking about, who was rounded up by the government and agreed to go with them, to work with them. And I honestly think that Luke probably would have only done that if he was protecting his family. So he probably didn't want to go, but he did it to essentially protect Jess from getting recruited. Either way, I think it's safe to say Defenders are coming back, right? I mean, there was a photo that was also posted and instantly removed by the actor that played Iron Fist on Instagram. I feel like Defenders is coming back. Speaking of the scene in the last episode, though, with Jessica talking about the other heroes being rounded up and talking about her powers fluctuating, I just wanted to say a quick shout out to people that pointed out for me that that information was dropped in the conversation. Yes, Powell probably doesn't have any powers, but Jessica's powers have been fluctuating ever since she had her daughter. I went back and I checked out the scene, and you were so right. I don't know. I must have missed it because it's like one quick line. But thank you for clarifying that for me in the comments. And of course, Jessica is not the only returning character from our Netflix era when it comes to cameos in this episode. We also get Brett Mahoney. I wasn't expecting to see Brett here. In fact, I kind of forgot who Brett was for a moment. I just knew it was someone important because the way that Karen reacts to seeing Brett, who helps Karen to have a moment with Daredevil so they can talk about their game plan, gets her out of prison for like a second just to put her back in because, you know, they're going to go to court. But I loved seeing Brett come back in this. I did go back and look up the wiki and then remember how Brett was a beat cop when we first meet him and how he's been in not just Daredevil, but Jessica Jones and Punisher. He's all over the Netflix Marvel universe. And apparently I might not be the only person that forgot about Brett or forgot about this show really, because apparently in terms of hours, our views are down for season 2 over season 1 for Born Again by about 54%. What? And if you're wondering why that could be happening, I have a few theories. One of them is that people are waiting for the show to be done, the season to be done, so that they can go back and binge all of it. And the other is Disney Plus's price models might be the thing forcing people to do that, or just simply to leave Disney altogether. Disney Plus recently upped their prices, and I know for a lot of people it's just gone beyond what they can afford, and a lot of these services have been going up and up and up, and there's only so much that you can push people, especially while our economy is still struggling, so a lot of people do not have as much disposable income for entertainment. Granted, Wonder Man did well, and maybe it did well because it dropped its season all at once and people are just more in the mood to binge than to watch something weekly. I don't know, but it is important to mention because that is a crazy drop, especially when you consider how much stronger I think season 2 has been over season 1. Either way, I hope people come back to the show, and if you're waiting to binge it, I hope when you do, you enjoy it. Although if you are waiting to binge it, it's crazy that you watch all of these reviews because I do spoil a lot of things for you. So I'm assuming none of the people watching this video are those folks, but I'd love to hear your theories as to why you think we are seeing that drop down in the comments. So let me know, we will discuss down there, but overall, a very dark episode, but a really great episode as well, with a lot of phenomenal acting. I am very excited to see where the season finale takes us. I have theories, but I don't know exactly what's going to go down, and that has been something I've been loving about this season. So next week, we'll find out. And I will also ideally have a Born Again comic video for you. I know I keep talking about it, but we are working on it. So stay tuned. It should be up soon. If you want to talk Born Again the comics with me, that'll be coming shortly. I'll see you in the next one. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye. And if you missed when I've talked about Born Again previously, make sure you click this to hear more.